Começou. Que idiota, amor. Eu falo isso sem começar de. Tudo falta. Okay, so I started broadcasting. I thought I had started the broadcast, so I spoke for like the past, I don't know, 20 minutes. And you missed all the footage of my English rat. And I was going on and on about how English rats can be domesticated, or my theory. I suspect they can be. Here we go. And it's unbelievable. So I was talking. I gave a whole big tirade and rant on the notion of yes, I mean, fucker.
Oh no.
So I was giving this whole breakdown on combat liberalism because Slicey. So this whole controversy with Slicey Dicey kind of precipitated from Justin over at the OCD for EDC, and then Super Steel Steve came out very stridently, very bombastically, saying, "Hey, Jason." Saying, "Look at
Hi,
as we can't remain neutral."
I miss you.
That's why I put this up. Howard Zinn wrote his, I think, memoir called "You Can't Be Neutral on a Moving Train," and the notion of Mao. Now, okay, I'm not here as an apologist for Mao. I'm not a communist, never have been. I use Marxist intellectual frameworks and critique because everybody does. Everybody is a Marxist. Everybody is a Freudian. Everybody is a Darwinist. It's fundamental to the modern world and how we think. Whether you know that or not, we all do. Hey, monster. And
hey, monster.
So, for example, Freud. We talk about well, what did you really mean by that? And we talk about unconscious. He called it subconscious, but I like to call it unconscious mental states that then affect our conscious behavior or our outward behavior. We all take that as granted. That didn't used to be the case. We used to say, "You are telling a lie." No, I say, your wife is slatternly. We shall duel it down, and God will decide. I mean, that was the world we used to live in. But now we have a psychological understanding of truth, and that there are unaccessed parts of the mind that play an influence in our thoughts. You know, Darwin's theories of evolution are foundational and fundamental to the biological sciences. We would not understand that at all. And then lastly, Marx is the idea that history is the product of the clash of social classes, which again, everyone takes for granted. I mean, we don't have an understanding. Now, I argue, I'm not a Marxist. I use Marxist critique, but it goes far beyond that. I think that there's many, many other levels of analysis, of social understanding that far exceed the notion of just a social. I think it's overly reductionist, but it's at the very least. And that's why usually some of the best histories out there are Marxist scholars. They're fantastic. They do fantastic academic work because they always keep that in mind. They're more disciplined in that way. How are you? You just got back to work on the 17th. Yeah, congratulations on getting back to work, man. I know that was a big deal. Okay, so the notion of Mao's concept of and you might think, oh, why would you talk about Mao? You know, he's a mass murderer. Yeah, I get it. The famines that resulted from idiotic policies, yeah, they were idiotic. I don't think they were deliberate. I don't think he was trying to kill his own people. I think it was this idea of, I mean, it was like a cult. I mean, it was very much a cult, which is why today the Marxists, I can't stand the most of the Maoists. They're invariably some of the most ideological and cult-like. I mean, almost all the the Maoist groups are always very creepy, and I won't deal with them. But their intellectual work is often very good. And Mao's notion of combat liberalism is the idea that you can't just be neutral, right? That in fact it's kind of a bourgeois privilege to be like, oh, let's let bygones be bygones, let's let things slide. So I do feel compelled. Super Steel Steve said all the knife channels need to, and I have all of 100 and some subs. I realize I'm next to nothing, but it is a data point. It is nevertheless a data point. That data point is over the years, I have in fact bought knives several times from Slicey Dicey. I got the Bear Ops Rancor 4 from him. And I'd have to find it. I don't know if I can find it right now.
Nada. Eu não tô entendendo nada do que você tá falando. Nheca.
Nada?
Nheca de nada. É aniversário de Monster?
Here. Sério?
Eu não sei.
The Bear Ops Rancor 4. I mean, in some ways, I kind of feel like I slightly overpaid for it. It was a decent price. The action is great. I didn't know about Bear Ops at the time, but it had an Axis style lock, and at that time I was trying to collect every single lock type, at least one example, and that wasn't just only Benchmade. Jason Brown doing the giveaway in a week or two. Going to have it recorded. You're gonna choose the winner, or you're gonna start the giveaway. I'm sorry. I barely have enough time to keep up with people's channels. So I got this from him. I got a Tucson from him, which I believe is over here.
Que faca é essa?
Yeah, here it is. So
Ah.
I got this from him. It's a Tucson. This was one of my first Tonto knives, and it was one of my first micarta knives, which is why I got it. I thought two birds with one stone, but I want you to listen to this when it drops. The action is good. Do you hear that rattle? Listen.
Amor, essa faca é de 3 pontas, né?
É, sim. Dois.
Não, e a parte superior? Não conta, não? A de cima parece um triângulo.
Não.
Tá. É porque ela tem uma inclinação. Tá.
So,
okay. Right.
Listen. Can you hear? Do you hear that? That rattle. So I really feel like he should have disclosed that. That left me a bit sore on this knife. I love the roughness of the micarta because I don't like smooth micarta, although apparently smooth micarta means that it's more finished and that this is a cheaper micarta because it's rough. However, I like the rough micarta. The action on this is fantastic, but it's that annoying rattle. And Metal Complex, do you hear that? Metal Complex makes an incredible point. He said, it may be a small thing, but a small thing is enough for you to always choose a different knife. Didn't care about the community, part of the knife community. Anytime you try to talk about anything other than his topics and his life, shuts it down. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oops, wait, let me. So I'll put that. Okay, first of all, he's like, hey, you're a pretty cool dude. He's like, well, thank you. I truly am. Okay, that's a good one. I was also going to put this one out. They said they have work booked out for almost 3 years and so no more layoffs. That's cool. I was going to say, okay, here. Something about doing a giveaway the next week or two. So I'm not sure exactly. Okay, and where was I? I love rough micarta too. So scales on my Izula 2R. Oh, you have an Izula 2. I need to get. I don't think I don't really have an SE yet. I don't think. No, do I? No, I don't. So I got this from him. And then finally, I got his Watu, his Spyderco Watu. That was the real kicker. So this was sort of left a bad taste. Yeah, see, you can hear that. I'm sure you can hear that. So I just felt like that was a little shady. And then what else? And then I got the Spyderco Watu from him, and I ordered it. See, I ordered it in, what was it? At the end of whatever it was, maybe at the end of 2020 or whatever, like, October or something. Yeah, it was October, I think. And I didn't get it, I think, until the next year. He had another knife sale, and I commented below, and I said, hey, I still haven't gotten my knives. I didn't DM him. It's also my fault because I'm very, very lax and very passive. And it really made me think of something that Super Steve said, is he halvesies stuff. And again, it's very, very classic addict behavior. And indeed, you could see it as he's hoping people like me, which, for better or for worse, or, sadly, is only all. I mean, a lot of people are that way, just very passive. I have a life. I'm busy. I'm passive. I procrastinate like crazy, and I just simply didn't get around to it. And he made an excuse, a boneheaded thing, very self-deprecating, so that he kind of gets ahead of the insult, like saying, God, you idiot, or how dare you, he just says, I'm an idiot, and he did send it. So don't get me wrong. I didn't get screwed over, but waiting almost a year to get a knife that you paid for is convenient for him, not for me. No, it's not. Goondocks. No, it's not. It's your fault. He wouldn't get that knife. No, I agree, Jason. This is what I'm saying. And you got to remember, a certain percentage of the time, people are just like me, just not going to get around to it. And that's why I was glad I commented on that video. And here's what's interesting. This is what's telling. I commented on that video, and immediately I got an email. So it didn't take him 2 seconds to go right to that knife, that email thread that was long ago abandoned, half a year abandoned, and got right back to me. And then he said in the email, oh, sorry about that. And he said, I turned off comments for that video. He said, it's weird. I just get trolled all the time. And I suspect it's other YouTube channels. I don't understand why. That's when I first started realizing, like, there's something going on here. If you look at, for example, the Knife Whisperer, I don't want to call him out, but he used to talk about that a lot because he sells his knives all the time. And he's constantly talking about how other knife channels, they'll, get free knives and then sell them instead of giving them away. And if Knife Whisperer channel, he is extremely generous with giving away knives. He's extremely generous on when he sells knives. He's super duper upfront about any kind of tiny little thing. He gives you very fair prices. I've bought knives from him. And it just, at that time, I already started putting two and two together. I kept thinking, like, is this Slicey Dicey that he's talking about? Yeah. He's saying Groups is saying that stickers will be collectible. It's part of his self-deprecating humor to try and deflect. And so one of the things I want to include in this is not a bashing session, because he's been bashed thoroughly. But what I want to talk about is how one of the things that I started putting together at that time was, it seemed like, for example, one of the things that really struck me was how he talks about how he was talking about during the pandemic, for example, how he was able to, Slicey Dicey was able to sleep with huge cold steel folders in his pockets and not feel them. And how basically he can't sleep for more than a couple hours at a time because he has so much pain. He was a professional mountain bike guy, and I know I've known some professional mountain bike guys. Mountain bikes were invented here in California, by the way, and so I know guys that do road racing and never get in crashes, and then mountain biking, crash constantly and jack themselves up really bad. Lots and lots and lots of injuries in mountain biking. It's brutal. And he has tremendous injuries from that. And so he has so much pain, he can only sleep for a few hours at a time. So he takes naps pretty much every day because he only sleeps a few hours in few hour chunks. I've been through that, when I had surgery, the pain is so much that you only sleep for a couple hours. I've had back problems where, you can sleep for 2 hours at most. When the pain meds kick in, you sleep for a couple hours and then the pain wakes you up again. And it's this vicious cycle. And it reminded me of that. And It's really sad. If you'll remember, Brett Favre went through that, where he talked about his Vicodin addiction. People say that Vicodin is harder to quit than heroin, some people say. It seems like I think it's called eidetic. Hold on. Maybe I should look it up first. It's a term for doctor influence.
Amor, me explica o que você está falando. Não tô entendendo nada.
Momento.
Ok.
No, hold on. Iadic addiction? Doctor.
Hey.
Doctor induced.
Hey, Pop shit. Não sei nem pronunciar o nome desse povo. Hello,
Iadic. It's called iadic.
Huh?
Yeah, iadic. I think. Wait, no. What is it? Medically induced opiate addiction. It's got a.
Aí, é o povo que veio lá do outro canal lá que você falou que era eu que gravava, tá tudo aí, ó. Ai.
Sorry, I'm having to do this right here. I thought it was called iatrogenic. Here it is. Iatrogenic. Here it is. Maybe I should put the link in. Induced inadvertently by a physician or surgeon or by medical treatment or diagnostic procedure. So iatrogenic addiction. Hold on. Let me cut this. Put iatrogenic. It's the idea that doctors are inducing Grumpy Grunt. Hey! Brain injuries. I had never heard him mention how. Yeah, I guarantee you he's got brain injuries if that's part of it. Yeah, I mean, it's that'll change behavior. He might have brain lesions. Again, all of these things start with pain medication. Yeah, Monster. It's a huge scandal. This is why guys are going to prison and stuff. It's an outrage, this iatrogenic thing. So, for example, the makers of fentanyl, they know that I think it's something like there are 30,000 or 35,000 legitimate fentanyl prescriptions per year. How much do they manufacture? 70,000. This is why these guys are getting in big trouble. Remember, Pfizer suppressed studies for 10 years, saying, what was it, oxycodone or whatever? It's like, oh, it's not addictive. Here's the non-addictive painkiller. These guys are murderers. You look at number one cause of death for young people in America now is drug overdose. It's all that fentanyl. It's all that Roxy, Oxy, all that stuff. So it just seems like he's exhibiting a lot of that behavior, that mental fog, that manipulativeness, the exploiting the circumstances. I mean, it's really sad that he's not clear in his head. I'm not saying he's not responsible and that he absolutely needs to be held accountable, but drug addiction is a disease, just like any other disease. It's a factor of, it's a combination of environmental, genetic, and other factors. Probably has a lot to do with allergies. There's a strong link between allergies and addiction. I was addicted to, let's see. I was paying for about a year, and thankfully have been clean for 7 years. Oh yeah, congratulate Monster, awesome. Yeah, I've got 4 now. So yeah, I gotta say, that's the new thing, pills.
O que aconteceu? O que está acontecendo?
Falando sobre canal de facas, ele fez muitas coisas muito mal de muitas outras pessoas, muitos outros.
Nossa.
So I don't take pen meds at all. Look at that. 3 times. I mean, I have a friend who has a twin brother, lost a twin brother to overdose. And he just, every single day, he feels that pain. And it's been years now already. And it's just horrible. It's really, really horrible to lose loved ones.
Que isso? Vai pegar uma faca agora? Tá fazendo o quê?
Não sei.
Ai, my God.
So I don't want this to be like a self-righteous slicey dice. He's such a dick. He's such a bad guy. I mean, this is what addiction looks like. To me, this looks like a straightforward case of addiction. That, and once again, addiction is not something that anyone can define for anybody else, but it looks classic to me. It looks like when you go down that road of addiction, this is what your life starts to look like. This is what the wreckage starts to look like. And I wish I could find my Kaiser sleigh bag. I think it fell on the floor. So, yeah, and then things got really weird and ugly in Justin's OCD for EDC's life just now with this troll Marco Polo, who there's right now in the news. There's all this news about people being against critical race theory. And again, that itself is just simply bizarre. Critical race theory is literally nothing but, the idea that, there was a Native American genocide. There was an African slave trade, and about the systematic destruction of an entire 2 continents, and those who came out on top of that. Oh, here it is. I think I almost ordered a second one of these. I think I might have actually ordered.
Oh,
I forgot this is where it was. Oh, yeah. See, I think I almost ordered a second one of that. What is this? Oh, yeah, the old timer, the Whittler. Oh, yeah, and the home front. I like these field strip knives. This is version 1.0. I'd like to check out version 2.0. And then this is the interchangeable blade thing. I think I might have ordered a second one because I was like, what happened to this? Just realized. So I should open some of these. Probably. Anyway.
Vai abrir?
Talvez.
Open.
Não sei. There's 3 possible conclusions. Yep. Here we go. Check this out. There are 3 possible conclusions of addiction: prison, death, or hopefully the person chooses rehab and sobriety. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I am Brazilian. I am from Brazil.
Wait.
É assim que fala, amor? Eu falei errado?
Tell me, I mean, here's the sad thing, Jason. First of all, both of those are tremendously bad for you. They poke holes in your liver. It's sad, but apparently in other countries they combine those together because it's the 1-2 punch. Here, for some reason, they don't do that. But I have a friend who says that she has a hip replacement. And again, she's been clean off drugs for 20 some years. And she says that's the absolute 1-2 punch. So that, taking that. Okay. Hey, Phil. I'm addicted to food. Okay. I don't know if you're being facetious or not, but they've done brain scans on people who are addicted to food, and they're the only people that have the same kind of brain scans as drug addicts. So it's scary and sad to think. Sugar, for example, is toxic to the. It's a hepatotoxin, so it's toxic to the liver. And it's 8 times more addictive than cocaine. So sugar, is it a food? Is it a drug? You know, it's that fine line. What? Okay, grumpy grunt. He's probably like, what on earth are you talking about? I get along with Marco Polo because I don't bite his bait. Oh, yeah, he's a troll. I know. I'm sorry. He loves pushing buttons. I just laugh at him when he does. Yeah, you know, and then at the very end, he was like, oh, war really messes with your head. Oh, Phil, cool. I didn't know you knew. A lot of people are like, oh, they speak Spanish in Brazil. Ele fala sobre português.
Ele fala sobre... Português é difícil? Big head. Como é que fala? Ai, amor.
Sugar is really... Grumpy, I'm telling you, I hear this all the time from ex-junkies. People saying that sugar is way harder to quit than heroin, which is... crazy. I have a fatty liver. Ooh. Yeah, what can you do about that? Can you cut out sugar?
Que bom, brasileiro. Ele mora em São Paulo. Oh.
What?
Em live em Bahia.
Random Yeah. Okay, you got to go and see my Christmas episode. I had from the floor to the ceiling, random boxes, and yeah, I have probably another dozen random boxes of unopened knives. I got to get through them little by little. Moro no São Paulo. Olha isso. Sim, fala. No way.
Eu falei em live Bahia. Ele falou que fala português. Eu moro na Bahia.
Ela é baiana. É mineira baiana, né?
Mineira baiana.
Ela mora na quitting sugar has been worse than cigarettes by far. See, look at that. And cigarettes are routinely considered one of the most addictive substances known to humans. So I've heard that from a lot of people that it's a big toss-up, sugar and cigarettes. And I most often hear that sugar is even harder, that eventually people can quit. I quit smoking cigarettes. God, it's been probably 8 years now, you know. I have cut out sweets. Great. Okay. But have you cut out, you know, the glycemic thing, you know? Because if you cut out sweets, but nearly every single processed food, pretty much 100% of restaurant food, all has sugar in it. Hollywood always has unopened eyes and pretty pajama pants. Bro, I have so many. You know those money? Ele
é brega, Jason.
I was doing my laundry.
Oh my God.
And I couldn't believe how many of these I had. I think I have like...
Fala pra ele que você sai com isso na rua. Papai, porque você é brega.
And he saw me. He knows. She's saying like, tell him I actually wear this out. And he knows I actually wear this out. And you know what? I get compliments. And the other thing is, I started doing this during COVID. And you know what? I notice like young tweens wearing this. I'm telling you, like, people are walking around in their PJs all the time now. It's like college. You know, when we were in college, kids would just wear their sweats out because that's what they rolled out of bed in. I'm telling you. Where do you store all that stuff? In a garage? No comment. I basically have like stacks and stacks of those like drawers, and I'm stacking them in there, and I've got stacks and stacks of boxes. I've got stacks and stacks of these ammo cans, these fake ammo cans. I've got them filled to the brim with like fixed blades and stuff. It's pretty bad, man. I mean, people keep bugging me to do a collection video. It's gonna get ugly. It's gonna get ugly. It's gonna be really ugly. Oh, absolutely. Sugar is then caffeine, then nicotine. 100%. I agree. I think our parenting or lack thereof is kids fussing. Here, have this sweet. We bribe them with sweets when they're feeling bad, crying, and feeling emotional. Here, have this cupcake. I totally think it absolutely. Oh, look at this. Gave up cigarettes 17 years ago. Look at that. That's awesome. I'm trying to quit. Great. Okay, I found myself on the bad side of an opioid many years back. It's a hard road back. Amen, Phil. I'm telling you. That's awesome. I'm trying to quit. Okay. Shit, it's never too late, I'm told. Yeah, absolutely. It never is. I brought my child Legos. Oh, Jason, you gotta check out. There's this hilarious video. It's like called like the Parents Olympics or something, where they got these people on a treadmill and they pour Legos down it. You have to run on the Legos, which, you know, it's like extremely painful. I moved into a studio apartment, so I would have no room. Okay, hold on. Studio apartment, so I would have no room to collect stuff. Yeah, but you still do anyway. That's the problem. Yeah, I have cut down a lot. They said the lungs clear up in 6 months. Yeah, Monster, go ahead and look up online. Look up. Lots of counties have this. I know that my county has this fantastic pamphlet that says, it goes, how does it go? It goes 24 hours after you stop smoking, and they list all these positive things like your carbon dioxide levels cut in half and blah, blah. And they say, so 24 hours, and then 1 week after, it's like the cilia start growing back. 1 month after you stop. All these positive effects, 6 months, 1 year. And once you hit 7 years, you're everything goes back to normal. Glad you're climbing out. Phil, wish you the best. Yeah, Legos. You mean landmines? Yeah. Then they had this whole comedy, this satire thing of Lego-proof house slippers. It is hilarious. This whole thing on the landmine nature of Legos. We'll check that out. Thank you. Yeah.
Amor, o que vocês estão falando de Legos? Me explica.
Yeah, well, Last Ranger, I have one of your knives. I mean, thank you for doing that.
I
got that monster folder from you.
The Last Ranger. Ele acabou de postar vídeo, foi? Sim. I see a later monster the Last Ranger.
Do you remember this?
Ele postou vídeo. Nossa, uau.
This is my.
Eu nunca vi essa faca.
From your channel, and I was really hoping to too. I think, doesn't this have that micarta? I think this is micarta. This is a sweet knife. That blue backspacer. I'm pretty sure I did an unboxing on this. Really nice action. These are these super budget. I can't remember who that maker was. Anyway,
Mostra
I have
mais. Chega mais
collection
perto.
knives and records. More records than knives. Yeah. Oh, I just got I just inherited. So my friend, who again he got clean off heroin, and sadly, about a little over a year now, he died in a motorcycle accident. And my friend inherited his turntable, and then recently came to me. So, oops.
Amor, mostra mais a faca. Eu nunca vi
Isso.
essa faca. Eu nunca vi, é a primeira vez que eu tô vendo essa faca.
Não,
Ela é
você
do
já viu.
caralho.
Você já viu. I
Não.
hope it helps you too. I quit for less than the cost of 2 packs.
I remember. Okay, right.
That's good. Monster. Keep trying something. Trying something positive about smoking. You're probably skinny. I know, right? Here's another thing about quitting smoking is it statistically takes 7 times of quitting to finally quit cigarettes. Okay, is that Poon? Yeah, this is my first and only harpoon blade. Poon Gooch. Oh, it's Ethan Grove. That's right. And they got nailed by Love Them Knives several times for having fake steel. But the president of Ethan Grove came out and said, "Look, that's outrageous. I can't believe it. I'm going to absolutely correct that." And so I think they've corrected it now. 6'3" and weight. Wow, big guy. Look at this guy. I have 9 turntable. Bro, I need to inherit one of them. Okay. This is the Ethan Grow that I won off of a giveaway that Last Ranger did. So he gives away his knives after he gets them. He has them regularly.
A faca é muito boa, né?
Okay, so it takes an average of 7 times, which means you figure tons of people quit cold turkey, especially pregnant moms, right? So they bring the average down. So you figure it's probably more like 10, 12, 20 times. But here's what that statistic means. Because it takes an average of 7 times, don't get discouraged. Every single time you quit, even if you go back to it, it means you're statistically closer to finally quitting for good. So don't get discouraged just because I've already quit 20 times. Quit 21. And that might finally be the one that sticks. You will be. I know it is a great looking knife. I really like this knife. 325 now. Yeah. And look at that blue backspacer. How nice is that with really nice jimping? It's a G10 backspacer. Feels great in hand. It's a big blade. It's got a slight recurve in it, if you can see. Mattisfaction, thanks for joining us. Yep, addiction. We're talking about addiction. We're talking about politics. We're talking. Oh, to get back to Marco Polo, he was saying, war messes you up. And, what I'd like to see is people who are victims of the current power structure, instead of turning against, immigrants, homosexuals, whatever, to turn against the people who profited off their misery, who exploited them. People say, "Oh, I'm a capitalist." Really? Do you work for a living? Yeah. Then you're not a capitalist. I was 270, but went down 190. Oh, when I found out. Oh, good. Okay. Wow. Diabetes is what. Remember, Monster. Whatever they tell you, diabetes is 100% reversible. Okay, you can do it. Diet and exercise. You can get it under control. I'm 5'7" and 230 pounds. There is some muscle under there, though. Okay, so right now people are apparently the new thing is Tombe. Tá bom. Volta. Tá? Volta. Okay, I'm going to look up a post that my friend made. We grew up together. Back in the day, he was, we grew up in a very evangelical place. He's now a pastor. And, he was, I don't know how to say it, your average run of the mill, extremely racist white boy, and since then he's moved to Detroit and done work there, advocacy work, and all kinds of good stuff. Hold on. Yeah, no, she didn't fall. Her internet failed. That's what she means. My diabetic thankfully. Hold on. Thankfully, it's not hit me at my doctor's surprise. I'm not diabetic. I know it's a scary thing. I'm 5 working all the way down here. Ugh, goodness, yeah, that's tough, man. Try intermittent fasting and keto. That's what everybody out here is doing. It's the latest Hollywood thing. But a ton of my friends are doing it and having tremendous success. When I did it, I had great success. But then I started eating pizza every day. You know how it is. Stop taking the insulin, but it scares me. Yeah, I know. Just get your diet and everything under control. She got booted. She dropped. Yeah, exactly. Dropped.
I am okay.
See, there you go. I'm telling you, tons of people are having tremendous success. So Stanford recently did an exhaustive survey of all the fad diets right now, and they weren't able to. The easiest way to lose weight is to cut carbs in half. That is how I lost 8 pounds. Great. Okay. Ranger, Monster, Grumpy, Hollywood, Mariner. Oh, hey, 1 minute. Hey. I'm down 40 by fasting and low carb. Yeah, exactly. So, one thing. So basically, Stanford did a very extensive audit. You guys probably have heard of this company, S-Tech. They're sort of they're sort of like an M-Tech type company, but they're actually kind of nice. Like this one was my first bearing knife with bearings. I got it for $1, but it's got great action. Look at
that. Amor, essa faca é muito legal, cara.
Every other day fasting works out great. Oh, is that right? Okay. Yeah, I did the intermittent and I lost weight like crazy and zero exercise. Of course. What was I saying? I was talking about the exhaustive survey. And they found, inconsistent results. They couldn't definitively say this is the best diet to do, that's the best diet to do, or whatever. However, one thing they did, but one thing that they were able to conclude is basically, the point is, one thing that all the diets had in common was basically cut out the sweets, cut out the added sugar. That in and of itself right away made a huge improvement. And the other thing is adding in whole foods, right? Whole vegetables, right? Like adding more vegetables to your diet. And vegetables have that. A few years
ago...
eu
vou ter que sair. O tempo tá rodando diferente aqui para mim. Parece que você tá sendo dublado. Espera aí que eu já volto.
Tá. No, never heard of it. This must be so hard. Oh, okay. Yeah, here. This is a good point. It gets easier. Okay, here. Let me see. I fast from. Oh yeah, here we go. See, intermittent. Check it out. From 10 p.m. to 2 p.m. daily. Yeah. Well, you know what? 1 minute. I that's my natural thing too. But yeah, what that allows. So as I understand it scientifically, what happens when you do this intermittent fast is it allows. So your liver is your only organ that actually regrows its own cells. So it's able to heal itself, which is why you can cut out half of it and it'll eventually grow itself back, to a certain extent. And what the intermittent fasting allows you to do is, by stopping the cycle of insulin production, the pancreas and producing pancreas or whatever they call that. What do they call that? Anyway, okay. Pancreas is this sport, but I'm blanking on some of the names right now. But what that allows you to do is it gives the liver a rest so that it can start doing its real job. Instead of producing insulin, it can start cleaning the blood. And then after 16 hours, you have exponential benefits, meaning after 16 hours, you go into cellular regeneration. That's where the liver actually starts producing new cells. And it gets easier and easier, because the trick to intermittent fasting, the trick to fasting, Monster, is that you start to get your body into the habit of burning fat for energy instead of sugar, right? And what's suggested is that the body is much more efficient at burning fat, that it reduces brain fog, it increases energy in the long run. At first, you'll feel weak and tired, but that's because you're burning all the toxins out of your fat. Nope, never heard of that.
Agora vocês estão falando de peso? Que rolê mais aleatório.
No, S-Tech. S-TEC.
Tô entendendo nada.
They have some goofy knives too, but they're like, they're super affordable. Not all of them. They're super affordable, but shop smart. Exercise, you get used to it after a week. It gets easier. Okay, see, check that out.
Mo, o que vocês estão falando agora? O outro tá falando de caloria? O que é isso? Eu não tô entendendo. Vocês estão falando de quê? De peso?
Okay, hold on a second.
Exercise? Me explica,
É dieta.
amor.
Sobre dieta.
Ah, a dieta que você come pizza todo dia?
See, especially green leafy vegetables have a specific substance it's a new substance they discovered. I can't remember the name of it. But it's like a type of enzyme, basically. And what it does is it literally actually repairs DNA, which is why we now understand why eating, for example, especially green leafy vegetables, is anti-cancer, because it quite literally does do that. What's this? Do you feel like crap the day you fast? At first you will, because you're detoxing. Good. Here's another thing too. Bread was my thing I had to cut. A lot of people are sensitive to gluten. Most people, I don't think, do too well with gluten. I think it's generally very allergic for most people. Yeah, you feel better. Yeah, here's the other thing. It really just becomes a habit. That's unexpected. That's awesome. Yeah. It's this. Yep. Not only, but definitely the best at it. Okay. I go from 24 hours only. Cool. I mean, I'll have to check that out. I've noticed that it helped my digestion. Right. So what it allows you to do, fasting, is that your digestive tract you give it a rest. And that, as I understand it, that's going back to a classic, a more traditional human way. Remember, our notion of 3 meals a day was invented under capitalism by food industry, agribusiness, etc. Breakfast cereals, totally invented by the wheat industry or big wheat or whatever. All of these notions, fruit juice, totally invented by the citrus industry in the 20s and 30s as a breakfast food. These things are probably extremely artificial, done for the benefit of profits. It also cuts out any calorie intake that would have been had a breakfast lunch, so less calories. Yep.
Good point.
So better. Good.
Why?
Come on.
Qual é o tema agora? Do que vocês estão falando agora?
Dieta. I and you do feel better, sleep less, have actually more energy. Cool.
Não
Okay.
tem que
The
fazer
longer I go
dieta,
without food, I build
gente.
up acid and have reflux. I
Amor.
have to eat at least small snacks. Jason, there's two things.
Eu vou sair, já volto.
Tá,
Eu preciso escrever. Eu tenho que escrever. Eu vou escrever aqui, já volto. Peraí.
tá. There's two things. They either too much acid or too little acid has basically feels the same. So you have to know, and I believe there's a specific test you can do to find out whether you have indeed too much acid or too little. Drinking more water, obviously less greasy food, no fried foods, no deep fried foods, stay away from smoked foods, smoked meats, all the good stuff. Just kidding. I don't remember what you were kidding about. The S Smart, maybe? Oh, about S Smart, yeah. That's good to know. Less calories. Phytosterols. Yeah, was that it? Phytosterols. I can't remember. I I don't think so. I think we've known about those for a while. It had a very exotic name. I think it had a Z, or excuse me, an X in it. Had a very exotic name because it was new. I mean, it's been a long time since we've discovered new things in food. Weight loss is math, amount in versus amount out. Sure, good point, Hollywood. The meal plan by industry. Yeah, sure, absolutely. And the whole food pyramid nonsense. I mean, everybody knows that's just garbage. The coffee break invented to boost productivity of workers as it waned in the afternoon. Yes, very interesting. And coffee. I mean, let's talk about coffee, the coffee industry, and imperialism, colonialism. I mean, that is an ugly history. Don't get me wrong. I love coffee. It's my final vice, and I drink it purely for the high. Trust me, it's my final vice. Um, you know, right up until the current moment of what's called structural readjustment programs that the World Bank and the IMF would impose upon third world countries. They make them, get rid of free education. They make them privatize it, and then they force them to produce coffee, and then creates a massive coffee glut, and the prices plummet. It got so bad at one point that it was costing more to make coffee than they could selling it. I mean, coffee's got an ugly, ugly history. You want to talk about that? Let's talk about the chocolate industry. There is no chocolate without slavery. Same with diamonds, but yeah, it's really sad, the state of global capitalism. I mean, the fact that hundreds of millions of people die for an economic model that is totally outdated and serves almost nobody. It's what is it? The top 8 richest Americans own as much as 50% of the world's population. I mean, the rich get richer, and that's what we're talking about when we're talking about. Oh, I own a small business, I have employees or whatever. Buy low, sell high. That's not capitalism. That's economics. Okay, we've been doing that since time immemorial. Okay, David Graeber, History of Debt. Check him out. He's an anarchist like me as well. He's an anthropologist. Graeber. I think his book is just called Debt. It's one of the first books on just debt and how money itself is actually just debt. That's what our system is designed for. Yep. No diet. I hate to use that term. Food reduction. Redução. Tá bom.
É, amor,
Yeah, so
porque dieta soa
I have too
como
much acid found out recently.
proibição.
Okay.
Ai,
Uh, uh, alkaline water. If you're willing to invest in one of those alkaline machines, I strongly suggest it. That stuff is magic, and it'll absolutely make that acid disappear overnight. Go alkaline. Start looking for more alkaline foods. And alkaline water will, I'm telling you, if you want a permanent solution, I strongly believe. How has everything been as far as your stomach, throat? Oh, goodness gracious. That sounds awful. Much better. Haven't had any pains about 2 weeks. Oh, good Lord. Brondo. It's what we crave. I'm not sure what that is. That is also. It's got electrolytes. Okay. Could also be bacterial. Interesting. Bad gut bacteria. Yeah. Probiotics. Take lots of probiotics. Remember, spicy foods kill some of those good probiotics. Also, sugar kills the good probiotics. You want to, for good gut health, of course, you got to cut out the sugar. Sugar feeds bad bacteria and viruses, for that matter. And sauerkraut, kimchi. Also, you might want to cut down on all the nightshades: tomatoes, potatoes, eggplant, green peppers, bell peppers, chili peppers, etc. Those are all nightshades, and they're inflammatory, so that might be triggering it too. The thirst mutilator, Brondo? Is that what you're talking about? I never heard of that. I love coffee, but I'm trying to give it up. Yeah, they told me with this highish that would be better off I quit drinking it. Man, that sucks. What's that? Chicory? Chicory? Can you try doing a slow chicory replacement? 50-50 coffee and chicory until you're down to 100% chicory? Try that. Welcome to Costco. We love you. Oh, yeah, David Graeber. His book is called Debt. I think it's called 4,000 Years of Debt or something, 5,000 Years of Debt. And he debunks a bunch of myths about economics. It's fantastic stuff. Of course, Brondo from Idiocracy. Please go to electrolytes. Grumpy Grunt, look up go on YouTube and look up why was Idiocracy so forgotten. It's a scandal what they did to that movie. I mean, after Office Space, which again was fantastic, I'm telling you, Mike Judge has just been shafted by Hollywood. I'm telling you. That's why this notion, watch Idiocracy, sounds like it would be right up your alley. Yeah. Oh, it's free on YouTube right now? Yeah, I own the DVD. I've seen it many times. It's so genius. That movie kind of messed my head up too, I remember at the time, because I was kind of like, because I was really thinking about themes like that. Because like in Asia, I was doing a lot of history of Asia at that time when that movie came out. And the best and the brightest would become monks and celibates. So it's like, so you're telling me for thousands of years, like the best and brightest and most moral of us never produced any kids? That's the whole theme of that. I don't know what to think. I would have a hard time giving up my peppers. Oh, I absolutely agree. That's why I refused to give up nightshades for decades until finally my arthritis started getting so bad. I haven't given it up 100%, but I don't go out of my way to eat it. If it's there, I'll eat it, but I just try not to. Funny with chronic pain issues of eating very spicy foods. I know. It in some ways, capsaicin, especially externally, can be like a pain reliever because it numbs, but unfortunately, it isn't inflammatory. Yeah, green tea is your other option because it's not as acidic as I understand it for autoinflammation and pain relief. Yeah. Oh, well, if you love green tea, the Japanese make great green tea. Oh, they did? Okay. I'm a log out then.
Começou uma live agora.
Oh, totally. I agree. Idiocracy it's sad. Speaking of, I saw Terry Crews at President Camacho. I saw him at a FedEx a couple of years ago, and I was like, good night, Spanky. Thanks for joining in. I saw Terry Crews, President Camacho, at a FedEx in the Valley, and I was like, it's not him. It's not him. I think I even took a picture of him. I was like, it's not him. He's not big enough. Because, Terry Crews is just ripped. It wasn't big enough. And then finally I looked at him and I walked by him and I smiled at him and he smiled back. And I was like, oh, it really is him. So I was kind of disappointed. I was like, Terry Crews lives in the Valley? Like, I understand. Everybody moves to the Valley. I get it. I mean, because he's married. I think he's got kids and stuff. I get it. When you're going to raise a family, everyone moves to the Valley. But Anyway, all right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Looks like it's been how long? I can't tell. It's not telling me.
Já pode ir
Oh yeah, it
embora?
is. It's been an hour exactly. Perfect. So let's all go over to Women Carry Knives and a Therapeutic Edge, which is what I'm going to do. So cannot unmute guests because they choose to mute themselves. Oh, okay. All right. Thanks for joining in. That was my little rant. If you guys have any more questions on like human intellectual history and blah blah blah, and, I hope Slicey Dicey can get help. I think he's suffering. Hurt people hurt people. So
Okay. Acabou?
fala tchau. Yeah, same.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Apparently, it's only, you got to remember, Last Ranger, you're in Texas, I believe. It's only 8:30 here on the West Coast, and they're up in the Bay Area. So it's still not late yet. And yeah, I've gone on this late as well. So thanks everyone for tuning in. And yeah, it's not. Yeah, I love that. We're all broken flowers. Yeah. So indeed. Yeah, it's 10:30 in Texas. So we are broken flowers, indeed. Você é mutar. Fala tchau.
Pera.
Microphone. I forgot where you are, Monster. Wisconsin. Oh, Wisconsin. Yeah, there's a fascinating story from Wisconsin about
Uai, o computador tá mutando sozinho meu microfone.
você. Wisconsin has a great story about some anti-slavery stuff there. A posse went up there to try and get some escaped slaves back, and Wisconsinites came out in droves and drove them off. It's a very inspiring story. Very, very, very cool. Progressive movement was founded in Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken. Lafayette, or a very famous De La Fayette, or whatever his name, De Follette, or something like that. All right. Good night, everybody. Indianapolis.
I want to eat at oh.
Vai.
Everybody. Ah, mas eu não sei cantar inglês.
Vai.
I want... Amor, não. Diz. Ó, você gosta de me fazer pagar mico. Era um menino tocado. Tem só a bogô e o tambor na toca lá tá. Chega. Bye, guys.
Canta
bye,
em
bye.
português. Canta em português. Vai.
Mas eu tava cantando em português. Amor, eu não canto bem. Para de me fazer passar vergonha.
Sim.
O outro que tá. Vai do...
Olha, Bernardo. Mostra o Bernardo.
Vem cá, filho. Vem cá, dá oi.
Oi, Charles.
Oi, moleque. Oi, moleque. Oi, moleque.
É o Nick, né? É o Nick.
Fala, do speak English.
Mickey.
Fala inglês.
Tá bom. Mickey.
Speak with me, Bernardo.
Mickey.
He watches gamers on YouTube. Just picks up tons of English. It's so funny. And he sits there and talks to himself in English. Bye. Thanks, Monster. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And yeah, folks tuning in afterwards, leave me any questions on especially like intellectual history, philosophy, the history of human thought. That's kind of like my thing. And how we've just ended in a very, very reactionary, very anti-intellectual moment, and it's really too bad. Our education has really truly failed us, and there are reasons for that. The modern overly hyper scientificized mindset has failed us to give us understanding of the beauty and awe and wonder of life. So, I mean, we really have to straddle that balance of how to understand and put meaning onto our experiences. The modern world is too cold and impersonal, and by leaving that empty, we've allowed the scoundrels to swoop in and take over that that narrative. And I think we're reaping the ugly effects of it, and it's really sad. And again, another reason why the abuse and the addiction and the overconsumption and everything. So, all right, everybody, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you over at Mickey.
Eu sou o Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse.
Ele falou, eu falei assim, perguntei qual é o nome desse boneco, ele Toy.
Toy. Sim.
É, inglês. Mas agora ele não quer falar inglês com a galera. Fala inglês, do you speak English, vai? Do you speak English? Esquece, papai, esquece. Ok, bye bye.
Tchau.
Adeus, Charles. Adeus, Charles.
Adeus, menino. Bernardo. Capital Cueca.
Capital Cueca.
Adeus, Charles.
Desespero, gente.
Maluco.
Maluco. Amor, você vai assistir a live? A gente vai ver filme agora ou a gente vai pra live?
Sim, agora. De Women Carry Nice. Cristina, lembra?
Ah, tá. Me manda o link, que eu acho que eu não sigo eles. Não apareceu na live. Ok?